Welcome to the channel. If you're new, we're the Resnick family. I'm Alex.
I'm London.
Today we're talking about 5 things we did not know as new parents. And that's just to start. There's a million things we did not know as parents, and we felt kind of new to it all. And of course, as a new parent, you're new to it. But I think we just felt like we didn't do our research. We didn't do the right things. We were constantly just thought, why did we not think of this? Why did we not get ahead of this? And maybe we're the only people, and maybe we're going to give you 5 things that we didn't know about that all people who are going into parenthood or already were parents are going to say, oh, I knew that. They just didn't do their research. Or maybe you're like us, that these things just fly over your head and you don't think about them until it happens. So anything you want to start with before I jump right into it?
Yeah, I was just going to say, hopefully, y'all will be starting on a better foot than us. And stay till the end because we have 5 main ones, but we're going to add a little bonus one at the end. So, yeah,
Well, a bonus one she thought of, so it's actually her
last
passion,
minute.
that
But
last one, yeah. So the first thing I think that the very first thing I wanted to mention that we didn't know as parents, and yes, someone tells you this, you take the classes and the nurses tell you all this, but it doesn't really feel true or ring true. But the bottom line is babies are so resilient. And as parents, especially the first one, we were just so scared of everything. I mean,
we
everything.
took the baby classes.
We took the
So
baby classes.
the shaken
We took,
baby syndrome was a
yes.
true fear. Yes.
Yes, and that was something that we were just very scared of. I actually remember, this is kind of sad to tell the story, but she was laying in her bassinet. Mika, yeah, and she was probably only a couple days old, so we're fresh in the seat. And she was on her back and she spit up. And we were doing something. We had walked away from the bassinet, and I was still in the phase of there must be someone with eyes on her at all times. And so she had spit up a little bit, and I came back and there was puke on the side of her face, and she had the bottom line is if you put them on their back, they will be fine. It's very hard for them to choke up. That's why you put them on their back. It's much less likely that they can choke on it. But in the moment, I saw her spit up and it was all over, and I freaked out, and I actually teared up and said, we almost killed our baby because we weren't paying attention. We need to have an eye on her at all times. Someone must always be watching her. And then London started tearing up and we were holding her like, what could have happened? Like, and it's just so dramatic. Because we just didn't understand how resilient babies are. And I think our second time around, everyone makes the joke. First child, you're very protective. Second child, you're just letting them do whatever because you're like, oh, he'll be fine. But there is a lot of experiences I think we had where we finally understood, like, we don't have to be so protective. We don't have to call the nurse every single time there's a slight fever or she acts slightly different. We don't have to make a big deal out of everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's all new, so it's like natural, I think, for parents because I mean, you just want them safe and you hear all the fearful things out there of what could happen, and you just are hoping and praying it's not your baby. But at the same time, yeah, understanding that, you can just do your best and like they're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
I remember I fell down the stairs, which is literally a huge fear. Like I remember in our baby, like this baby 101 class that I took when I was pregnant, and one of the moms, or almost mom, asked, she's like, I just have this major fear of like falling down the stairs. And like the lady leading the class wasn't super helpful. She was just like, well, just make sure to hold on the handrail. And
Good insight.
yeah. And so I was doing all the things, I'm holding Meeks and I'm going down the stairs, but I think I was wearing socks, and our stairs at the time it was a carpet.
Yeah.
And so I slipped, thankfully it was just the last two. She was on my hip, and so like I kind of fell down and I was freaking out thinking I broke her leg and all this stuff. She cried for like a few seconds and then she was fine, but I took her to the hours later of taking her to the urgent care and everything, and they literally just felt her leg and they're like, she's okay. I'm like, okay. But yeah, they are really resilient. I mean, I don't know if this is just because we had Mika first as a girl and then boy as second, and maybe that's part of it, but like Sonny has gone through it. Not in a horrible way, but like he bonks his head and like sometimes he just moves right along and like doesn't cry even. But
Man goes head first into everything.
he's a boy.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're trying to be cautious, right?
Yeah.
And keep them safe, but also, There's going to be times that they're going to get bumps and bruises, and it's going to be okay. It's just part of life. We're imperfect, you know, and they're
Exactly.
imperfect. So,
And that is the first thing that we just did not know as parents. The second thing is to watch out for bitterness. This is something that no one told us. And maybe parents, older parents, our parents, it's been so long that they just didn't think about it. And maybe other new parents were too afraid to say they had this problem. But bitterness is so huge in the house when you have a kid. And for us, it was better because we immediately identified it and named it and said it out loud, and that really helped us. But what happens is you start to get bitter towards each other because everything starts to become hard. It's no longer just the two of you where you can just hang out. If you just don't feel like doing anything, you just don't do anything. If you want to hang out and watch shows, you just hang out and watch shows. When you have a kid, you no longer get a choice of when you get to relax. And so that creates this tension of you're always doing something, and then it creates a tension of you feel like the other person isn't doing what you're doing and you're doing more. And I think the man and woman concept is a big one. And I think this is going to be an excuse that most women watching are going to roll their eyes, and I know it. And so I'm not saying it's an excuse and all men need to do their best to be nurturing, but I think it's harder genetically. Hey, buddy. Hi. See, I'm nurturing. Look at this. It's hard sometimes for a man to have the same level of patience. I would notice that something about Mika's cry just got me going, and I was holding her.
Blood-curdling cry.
It was a blood-curdling cry, and I would watch London hold that baby for 30 minutes crying, just straight face. And I just thought, what a champion. And I'd be like, I got this. And I would hold her for 5 minutes and I would tell London, I have anger like I've never had before and I need you to take this baby. In fact, I remember when we were doing the lesson and the nurse, I was the only father, I think, in that class. It was all women. And the nurse kept saying, you can't shake the baby. Even if you're angry, you can't shake the baby. And she kept looking at me. And I was like, absolutely can't shake the baby. And then she said it again. She's like, you really can't shake the baby. And was staring directly at me where I started to get a little nervous. I was like, yeah, I agree. I do agree. You shouldn't. And then the third time she said it, it was so directly at me that I was like, there's other people in the room here. I feel like I'm being personally attacked. And then when she started crying, that blood-curdling cry, and it was 2 a.m., and I was holding her, I realized this is why the nurse told me specifically, because I'm going to shake this baby. So I'd like, London, please. And I'd put her in the bassinet and I'd walk out the door because they say, if you feel frustrated, just put the baby down.
Yeah.
But
better, yeah.
I got it. That whoever you are, that nurse,
Yeah.
thanks. Thanks for the 3 times over direct eye contact because I needed it.
Yeah.
But the overall bitterness is London, as she's breastfeeding, always has to watch the baby. The baby always wants milk. The baby just feels connected to the mother because it's been 9 months with the mother. And so sometimes she felt bitter because I wasn't able to give the baby, and so I wasn't doing as much for the baby. On the other end, I didn't know what to do with myself, so I was doing all the chores around the house. I thought, I can't take care of the baby like London can, but I can take care of London. So I'll do all the dinner, I'll do all the dishes, I'll do all the laundry. And I started getting bitter that I was doing all that. And so you might be able to speak on that and how we kind of navigated that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I think one thing in our marriage that sometimes makes it hard in the moment, but I'm grateful for is like we can't just act like nothing's wrong. We wear our feelings on our sleeve.
She can't.
I can't, I guess. Okay. And so, actually, I don't even know if I was the one to bring it up though, because you were the one to bring up your
me, yeah.
like first sergeant or some person that made a comment to you about parenthood. I don't know. And I don't think we were meaning to have the conversation, but we were sitting in Mika's nursery and you were just sharing a little bit. And I don't know if you fully came out with it, but then I was like, listen, I'm feeling this way. And I just got to say it. And then he shared his. And like, even though it wasn't like we exactly had a solution in the moment, that's a big thing for us, is just at least bringing it out there. And that's a huge thing, I think, with bitterness, is just bringing out to light. And that's going to cause a lot of the power of it to just like fizzle away.
Yeah.
And even if there's not a solution right there in the moment, at least it's like, okay, like you said, you've named it. And so like, at least we know what the other person is feeling, and like we're humbling ourselves. And so like, like you said, I was just feeling all of it. I mean, I was in pain at times, I was exhausted, and I was feeling just I loved Mika and but I felt so frustrated at times of like, I'm so needed all the time. And I just don't want to be needed for once. Like, but for him, like, can he help, But it wasn't like he tried to help. I mean, he would try to take her, but she would just cry even more. So for me, I was just like, just give her to me. Like, it just makes it easier.
We did have a running joke. Every time she started crying, I'd be like, I think she needs milk.
Yeah, yeah.
She doesn't need milk every time, Alex. So
Yeah.
I kind of got old of Alex saying she needs milk every
Yeah.
time she cried. So
And there were times I was like, I need a break. I know this is gonna be horrible. Can you go rock her, like, or do something for 10 minutes? And he'd like, I remember walking up and down the hallway, her like crying, and I'm just sitting there like, it's not gonna work. I mean, it's just not. But at least you find that. But that was helpful for me when you shared your side of like. In the moment, I was like, ooh, really? You're going to say, oh, I'm doing all these chores? But it did help me because I was like, I could see where you really wanted to feel like you were needed and you were able to do something, but you felt kind of useless, you told me at times. So, yeah.
And it went both ways. And I think the main thing that helped us, we offer to you is always, and this is not just as new parents, but forever in your marriages, never stop noticing each other. And so notice everything they do. If I bring coffee to London every morning, she shouldn't just get used to it and stop saying thank you. Always say thank you. If she does laundry for me, I shouldn't just expect it. I should always say thank you. Just because she does it every time doesn't mean I don't still thank her. And I think once we started thanking each other, it made a huge difference.
Oh, yeah.
But that will lead us into our third, which is not only have grace on each other to avoid bitterness, but to have grace on your friends, with your friends and family. And that one was hard for us, not because they were doing anything wrong, but because no one warned us that you're going to be almost ostracized. You're going to notice an immediate shift between you and your previous friendships. Any friendships you had that don't have kids, you're going to notice a shift because of some reasons I didn't realize at the time. And at the time I got bitter, at the time I got upset, I got mad that why do my friends not want to come visit me? Why do they not want to see the kids? Why are they not asking about my life? And then I'd go home or I'd go somewhere else and I'd be like, why are these people not going out of their way to see my family? Why? And then when I did talk to friends, they'd say, hey, why don't you drive a couple hours up this way or that way? And I'd say, you're a single dude. Why can't you drive to me? I got a kid, And all that was really unfair. And I read, it wasn't until I read the Let Them theory where she spoke on friendships. And she said, friendships are dictated by three things: energy, proximity, and timing. And energy is the basic vibe you get. And as you grow over time and you change over time, that energy changes. One person might go a different direction than another. And it's not that anyone grew up and the other didn't. It's you just went in different directions. And so that energy may change over time. And that's completely normal. No one did anything wrong. The second thing is timing. Timing in life. Whereas you might have the same energy, but this guy is a single man, and this person now has a wife and a kid. You are not in the same season. Your timing is different, and so you're not going to have the same commonalities. You're not going to want to do the same things, and you're definitely not going to have the same mindset. And then third is proximity. It's just bottom line: the closer you are to someone, the more likely you can develop a relationship with them. And the further away you are, the harder it is to maintain it. And those things naturally occur and they ebb and flow. And once I realized I need to stop holding this bitterness and understand that I love my friends. I love my friends and I love my family. And all my memories I have with them are amazing. And they all have been so incredible to me. And so why not I just love them for that? And understand that both them and I are in different seasons, different proximity, and different energies. And I can hope that one day they'll align, but if not, I just had such an amazing time with each friend I've had in my life, and I just need to love that and let the rest go. And that's my advice, and London might have something to share as well. But that was one thing I think we focused on, was feeling like we were separated from our previous friends.
Yeah, just to add on to your point, it's shaped you for who you are, each experience that you had with them. Yeah, that was definitely hard because I don't know where this came from, but growing up, I kind of had this expectation of friendship and what that, I guess the expectations of what the other person should do for me, how I should respond. Like, it was always kind of this fairness of like, oh, I'm putting in this effort and they should put that. Or like, I don't want this short-term friendship. I want these long-term lasting friendships. And if I don't see that in someone, then maybe I don't want to pursue that friendship with them.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, that was the biggest thing with the let them that you shared with me that just clicked. That was, it's okay to have friends in different seasons. Like that's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
And that was just an aha moment for me where I was like, I don't need to, like, yes, we all would love to find these long-term friendships, and those are so valuable and rare. But a lot of times there's friendships in seasons. I mean, especially with you being in the military and moving every few years, and even different seasons within that of like busy times and not busy times and travels and all that. I have been sad at times of like, oh, I don't keep in touch with them and I should. And, we had such a close friendship, and is it just thrown away and all this stuff? But in reality, it's not. Like, they're always going to be there if you ever need them. If life circles back and we're, like you said, proximity or timing works better, then it'll come back, Or like timing of back to family, having kids, a lot of our parents and older generation have told us, don't worry, like, it'll all come back. Like, once your friends, because we were the first to get married and have kids. So like it felt very lonely at times, like no one else understood. It was special, but we went through all the learning curves. But as a mom too, friendships are just so important, especially if you have a husband that's either working a normal job or gone all the time. Like, having those friendships that you can share the hardships of motherhood and kids, and also like the highs, because if you don't have that and your husband's gone, then it's pretty lonely. But it's even if those friendships aren't here now forever.
Yeah.
So
it's important to have the relationships, but it's also important to just understand that you're entering a new season. And so with that, it kind of shifts some of those relationships, and it's completely okay. And then that falls us into our next one, which is understand that it's important to set routines, not schedule. And I know that before parenting, I wouldn't know the difference between that two, and now I do. So often people say it's important for kids to have a schedule, a routine. It creates a level of control, it creates a level of consistency. But what you want is a routine, not a schedule. And what I mean by that is have things, a process that you do, but do not align it to time. Because if you spend so much time making sure it sticks to a certain time, you're going to ruin your ability to be an adult. If you're so stuck on my kids go to 7, well then good luck ever having a dinner out, ever. And that's going to impact your friendships, your family, your relationship. You have to be a little bit more open to being able to be flexible in how things move in one way or the other. And more importantly, your kid's body just might have more energy. One night, because because she naturally slept in the day before or something like that, they may want to stay up later. And now you're forcing them to go to bed. It's going to be difficult for you. They're probably not even going to fall asleep till 8 anyway. And so it's important to have a routine, such as every night we do bath time, or every night we read a book. And so every night we put our jammies on together. We sing a very specific song. These things that they know, this is our ritual for bedtime, and it eases them into bedtime, not so much the time. And I don't want to stick too much on this because I know we've been talking a lot, because I think that's pretty much, there's not too much to say about it. But bottom line, I think it's important to stick to a routine, not a timeline.
Yeah. I mean, one thing to add is just the fact that like I remember with Mika, we were constantly fighting her naps, and it was like, oh my gosh, it's nap time because she's done her wake window. I did all the research on that, and then realizing now with Sunny, like, he just naps when he's tired, and that's okay. Like, sometimes babies cry, and sometimes they have good days, and sometimes they have bad days, and just like us as adults. And I think that helps you kind of ease into, you might have a good day, bad day, but that's okay. Like, it's just part of parenthood. So
if you create a timeline for yourself, you're just going to stress yourself out. You're just going to be rushing to the next timeline, and then you're not really going to be present. And that's something we struggled with the first, and then we got used to it with the second. And that brings us to our last thing that I think that we're still working through now, especially with gifts that we get, is when you're looking to purchase things for parenthood and for your kid, choose life-enhancing items that enhance your life day to day over toys that may excite them here and there. And what I mean by that is we have so many toys, and so many stuffed animals, and so many of this and that. And the reality is we got all this stuff, And for the first, from once you started playing with things, the first 6 months, she's more focused on a piece of Tupperware that falls from the kitchen cabinet than she is the $25 toy we bought her. And so you really want to focus on things that enhance your day to day, like invest in a good stroller, spend more money on a nice stroller than you would on just a bunch of toys. Spend more money on a nicer diaper pail that doesn't make the whole room smell like poop. We had that mistake.
Oh
Is
my
plastic
God.
is no good. You want the metal ones.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you dump a bunch of diapers in there and the whole place still stinks.
Mm-hmm.
And you just want to invest in the things that day to day. And if you pick toys, pick the toys that they can use creativity to continue to grow, such as the magnet tiles, such as building blocks, such as a little climbing station, not toys that light up and flash and do one thing that they're going to be entertained for a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're interested, read Simplicity Parenting. It's a great book that just talks about how a kid will actually be more overwhelmed with more toys. You want less toys, and they don't want that. If you say, hey, can we cut your toys in half, they're not going to like it. But if they go to nap one day and you take half their toys and take it away, they're going to come out and they won't even notice all these stuff are gone. And what you'll find is they're actually less frantic and less stress because they have less choices and they find some familiarity with the same toys. Otherwise, they have all these choices, and what happens is nothing entertains them long enough. They jump from one thing to the next and they're never entertained, and then it causes them to be stick to you instead of creating some independence and playing on their own.
Yeah, yeah, independent play and being able to focus longer term.
Yeah.
I remember reading in Montessori Baby or Montessori Child book. I think there's two of them, but yeah, it kind of talked about that as well. And I think we tried, like, we didn't personally buy many toys, but we were just gifted a lot of toys, birthdays, Christmas,
Yeah.
random things. So that's where now that we're trying to limit. But what's cool is, like, with Mika being 2 or 3, like, she might not notice, but I've been trying to involve her in it, and it's kind of cool. Like, hey, we're going to donate to some other boys and girls. Like,
Yeah.
what are some toys? And trying to encourage that giving heart in her, and like she helped. It was hard for her on some toys, but other toys she was like, yeah, we'll give that. And I was like, okay, almost too much. Like, she was dumping it in there. I was like,
Which you could tell, okay,
Yeah.
we have some toys she doesn't need. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And in Simplicity Parenting, it mentioned a tactic that we use is toy rotation. So if you have too many toys and you don't want to get rid of all of them,
Yeah.
you still don't need that many in her space. And what you can do is you can take half of your toys, or you could take, cut them in thirds, put the other half in a box outside. And then once every month or 2 months, maybe every 2 months, you say, all right, time for toy rotation. You put them down for nap, or maybe they can help you do it. And you put all the toys and books you have, put them in the box, take them outside, bring that box out and switch them. Mm-hmm. And they will feel like they have new toys. Even though they played with those toys before, they will feel like they have new toys. You save money and you're still giving your kid new toys. And you're also not putting a crap ton of toys in their space and too many, choices.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially with more than one kid, if you have a younger kid that you're trying to hold on to some toys to reuse, it's super helpful.
Yeah.
I mean, back to your first point of like the Tupperware thing, Mika literally she uses a calculator as a play phone right now.
That's right.
And it's like an old calculator that doesn't work.
TI-84, phenomenal calculator.
Yeah.
The calculator of our generation.
So they don't need much. They just need love and investing in more of experiences and bigger items, that they could use longer term.
So if you're looking for things to ask your grandparents to buy them, my mom has been really good at this, and your mom as well. But my mom got once we kind of said this a couple times, she's like, oh, I gotcha. And so she bought swim lessons for Mika. And so Mika's been learning to swim. And then, Lovey, her mom, does a lot with like taking her out and taking her and doing things. And if she does buy toys, she'll keep them at her house. So it's a fun adventure, for her when she goes to her house. So there's ways to navigate this, because your family loves you and they just want to love her and do it the best way possible. And sometimes they need some guidance on that. And as new parents, we're trying to figure it out. So this is not advice as people who know what they're doing. It's actually advice from people who don't know what they're doing, who just, hopefully, if you're listening, you can get some insight and prevent yourself from being a little bit too far behind as we were and as we started this journey. But this leaves us to our bonus tip from London. This is her passion, so I'll let her take the floor completely on this one.
Well, I will say is that I did zero research on anything healthcare with babies. I've never worked in healthcare or anything like that. So having Mika, like I barely had, I think someone gave us from our registry like a first aid kit or whatever, Red Cross, whatever. And that's all I had. And so when Mika was sick, there were a few times I remember like we were kind of scrambling to get meds, to get even the snot sucker thing. So think about all those things. If you have a sick baby, like what are the things that you're going to need? Also, just planning for all the appointments you're going to have that first year, and all the vaccine schedule, do your research on those, and just like preparing, like if there's any health remedies that you can do at home, like, I don't know, it's just in those times of crisis, like there, or crisis, but it felt like we were constantly calling like Mika's pediatrician, or if they were closed, you're calling thinking, do we need to take her to the ER? So it's like being prepared, can help you feel a little bit more at ease of like, I can handle this, you know, and she's going to be okay. And then knowing also like the points of when it is more of an emergency. So I just had no knowledge of that.
And just make sure when you do your research to get these things that you truly look at the ingredients of what you're buying, and even down to doctors. Like we got prescribed just basic vitamins to give her, and then you look at the vitamin D, and it had all these, natural flavors and stuff. And so there's a lot of organic options out there that you might want to look into. And so I'm not saying you have to go that route. There's nothing wrong with medicine. We love medicine, but sometimes you don't always need the hard medicine. Sometimes you can do some more organic options to get them feeling better.
There's a lot more natural remedies, and we give our kids vitamins. Hadn't given Mika vitamins the first 2 years of her life. So I don't know, just little things like that to do more research on was helpful to know.
So that is our channel today, about 5 tips and 5 things we did not know about as parents, and then the one bonus that London gave you as well. So if you liked this and you enjoyed it and you found it helpful, please like and subscribe. If you have any comments on what helped you, or any suggestions of things that helped you, please add in the comments. And then just go ahead and stay tuned. We're going to be doing more about this. I think London's going to do a whole video about health, some options she uses for vitamins and stuff like that. But thank you for staying with us this long, and please like and subscribe.
Yeah, have a blessed day.